Hey guys, I am back with another video. I'm sorry I haven't filmed for a while because I've been transferring colleges and a bunch of boring stuff that you guys probably don't care about. So I'm not going to get into it. So today I thought that I would show you the makeup look that I go to for the transition from like winter months into spring without defining which one's which. So kind of from what I use during the winter, and I have a different look that I use in the spring. So this is that middle ground that I use at this time of year. So the first thing that I like to do is when my hair is down like it is right now, I will pull it back because you don't want your makeup getting in your hair, especially after you've just washed it. And then if you're like me and have these weird little bangs, I bobby pin. And so that way they all stay together, I just twist them. I know you probably don't care about that either, but that's what I do. Okay. And then it's good to have a clean face. I did that off camera. So to start with, I use my Wet n Wild face primer. And I don't use very much because I don't have a very big face, obviously. So I just dab a little bit. About that. Because you don't have to put very much on your face, obviously. And it works kind of like a moisturizer when you put it on. It's not really a moisturizer, but it helps keep the makeup on a little bit longer. Especially when you're like me and don't have a setting spray. I'm working on getting one of those, but I'm trying to keep gas in my car right now. So I feel like that's a little more important. So I'm sorry if my face looks red. It's just really sensitive because I am getting sick. But again, you probably don't care about that either, so I'm not going to get into that either. So once you have that on your face, sorry guys, then I put on my CoverGirl True Blend Foundation. I obviously shake it because who knows how long it's been sitting in my makeup bag. And then on the back of my hand, I just squirt 1.5 pumps. Because if you're like me at all, then who knows what kind of a day your skin's having. So I just take a stippled brush. This one is from e.l.f. And I just pat it all over my skin. I don't blend it just yet. I just make sure I have enough to cover all of my face. And then once I get that much done, I just start blending it. And if I don't feel like my brush is doing a good enough job, which today I don't think it is, I use my trusty beauty blender. It looks really gross, but and I have to make sure I look good because I have a very important meeting this evening. So I need to at least look good because I won't have time to wash my face after this. But I make sure that it's all rubbed in. This is a little bit different from my everyday makeup routine because I now do some things in a different order. Okay, so once that's done, then I move on to my concealer. Now I use 2 different concealers. Underneath my eyes, where you can clearly see that I have dark circles, I use the Extra Lasting concealer from Avon. So it's super cheap. And then for all my spots, which I don't seem to have too many of today, I use the Super Stay 24-Hour Corrector from Maybelline. And obviously this one's the lighter one, so that's why it goes under here to brighten. And then obviously this one is more so my skin tone, so it goes everywhere else. So I just take this and I make like a little tiny, well, it's not really tiny, but I just put about that much under my eyes. Because sadly, this isn't the most coverage concealer ever, but with about this much, it tends to work better. So I start by blending that out first before I go into my other concealer. And so I get it right up underneath my eye. And I just blend it out. And I try to make sure that there's no line showing where my concealer was. And then I just do that to both sides. Sometimes I accidentally put a little bit more on one side than the other. But that's okay, as long as you blend it. I'm sure we've all done that. Okay, so now that underneath my eyes is finished, we can move on to all my spots. Now, I don't seem to have too many, just a few up here on my forehead. Like there, and there. We'll do there, and right there. I don't tend to do the sides of my noses. I've only got one. I don't tend to do the sides of my nose very often because where I typically wear glasses, they normally fall down my face anyway. And I don't see the point in doing that if it's just going to be covered by my glasses, which I am going to quit wearing soon. So now I use, after all of my concealer, I use my CoverGirl powder. Just simple and actually quite, what is it? Blonde Moment, light. And I can say blonde moment because I was born a blonde, so no hate. So I just put it on my brush and just put it all over my face. Just like so. And I'm sorry if it cut out a little bit. It's technically not my fault. Okay. So the powder's just all over my face. Nothing special. But then I move to bronzer. And I applied my powder with a Real Techniques brush, and for some reason I used the buffing brush, but for my size face it's perfect for powder. So for bronzer I use the Color Mates Dazzling Sunlight bronzer, and I apply it with an e.l.f. I think this is the actual powder brush from e.l.f. possibly. And I just put the bronzer up on my temples, like this. Just because I don't like much. I just like enough to show that, hey, I'm alive. I promise I'm not dead because I don't look dead. And then, for some reason, I put some underneath my chin. Don't ask me why, it's just a habit that I got into. It doesn't define my chin or my neck any more than it already is. Now that my base is done, sorry guys, itchy eye, I move on to my eyes. I don't know, a lot of people do their eyes like first, but I don't. Don't ask me why, that's how I picked it up. So I use my Wet n Wild eyeshadow primer, because a lot of the makeup that I use on a day-to-day basis is actually from like Fruth and Dollar General and places like that. So I just put a dab on my finger, only that big, it's real little, because my eyelids aren't very big. And with this stuff, a little goes a long way. If I can speak today, that would be great. And I just rub it all over my eye with my middle finger on this hand, or apparently my ring finger on this hand. And I just make sure that that gets rubbed in to help keep my eyeshadow intact. And for my actual eyeshadow, I use the Hard Candy eyeshadow palette that I got for Christmas. And I use this like gold color and this darker gold color. I don't know why I use that at this time of year, but that's just something that I do apparently, because it's the colors that I reach for the most. And the brush that I use, it came from wish.com, so I don't know actually what brand this is. I just know that I ordered it in a pack of 20, and that's how I use it. So then I take my gold color and I just put it on my inner corner, because just like every other time I do any eyeshadow, I have a habit of doing dark to or light to dark, sorry guys. And I just apply about 3 coats of that to make sure it's, and I put it over 2/3 of my eyelid. And then I do the same to the other eye, like so. I do the exact same process, 3 layers and 3/4 of my eye. It looks a lot more shimmery on camera than it does in real life. So there's the inner corners. And then I take this dark gold, and I only take a little bit, and I put it on the outer corner right here. I mean, it may look bad now, but it won't here in a little bit. So as I do that, it looks kind of bad right now. But then, like in all my other videos, I don't use a blending brush. I use my fingers. So I just lightly rub my fingers across my eyelids. Just lightly. Which gives me this effect. This one's a little darker. So it's all nice, pretty, and gold. So next, I use my CoverGirl Lash Blast 24-hour mascara. I really wish I could talk English today. So I just apply one big thick coat. And I just blink really hard. For some reason, I don't know why these are my techniques, but I picked up makeup from my cousin, and I don't know what her deal is, but... And then I just take my finger and run it up through as the mascara dries to make sure it looks good. And as I've said in previous videos, I do not use eyeliner because I can never get it right, so I choose not to use it. So then I just do the same to the other eye. I don't twist my hand around like a contortionist either. I just do the exact same to what I did to the other eye. And I don't do my eyebrows either. That's another thing that differs me from a lot of people, is I don't fill in my eyebrows. I'll do my face makeup, but I won't do anything to my eyebrows. So then, to make sure I don't have black fingers, even though I kind of do now, I wipe it on tissue. Oh well. So now pretty much everything is done except for my lips. So in a lot of my other videos, I have like 2 other videos on this, I've talked about my Avon lipstick, which is like a dark plum color until you put it on. So I just put it on kind of like chapstick, you know, like you put on lipstick, but then there's a slight twist. I line my lips like this, but I make sure I get the points right by my Cupid's bow. And it looks really dark right now. But the twist to how I do it, and I've done this in my other videos too, is I take a tissue and I blot. And the final step in my entire process is my blush. And I just used Avon brand again. It's the only blush I actually own. And I use, again, a Real Techniques brush to apply it. This is actually the contour brush. So I just go swipe, 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 and I pat it on first. I pat it on both cheeks. Then if I don't think that that looks dark enough, that's when I'll start rubbing. And then I tend to rub it on down my cheek or up my cheek, depending on if I'm too high or too low. And this does look a lot like my other makeup tutorials that I've done, but those were my everyday makeup look, what I wore for Christmas. Now this is the makeup look that I wear in between seasons, like I've said at the beginning of the video, like the ending of winter going into spring, like that whole 6-7 weeks. And I don't differ my makeup very much, but I do try to make it a little different every now and then. But on the makeup side of things, if there is a look that you guys would want me to try out and then show you guys how I made my version of the look, then you can tell me in the comments and I'll see what I can do with it. And I hope you liked the video. I post videos at least once a week, between once to twice a week, depending on how hectic my week is, but I post at least one video a week from now on. And so if you liked it, obviously like the video, and like I said, comment if there's anything else you'd like to see me do. And if you liked this video, you can go check out my other videos, and if you liked those, you can subscribe. So I hope that you have a good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is when you're watching this, and I will see you guys with another video.